Hi, this is Diane with Phil Sewing in Washington, Missouri. Today I'm going to show you a technique about how to create some fringed flowers. In the manual they call them chenille flowers, and so this is kind of what they look like, okay? This is like one that I just cut out the back of it and fringed it up. So we're going to talk about how to create that fringy flower. So first things first, I'm going to go into the manual, and I think in the manual it's very helpful because it's going to identify, I'm going to just set this up here, some of the different features that some of the different designs will identify for you with some of the symbols. And so I just want to point you in the direction over here. This particular one, I'm gonna, if I get this up here and hold it, here we go. This is the fringe flower that we're going to be working with. And these are the symbols right here that you're going to notice next to that fringe flower. I'm going to go back to the flower and identify it in the manual here. And hopefully you guys all use your manuals because these are quite helpful. And I dog-eared it here so that I knew which one I was going to do. So this is the flower that we're going to be pulling up and working with. If you notice, the flower itself is the only portion that we're going to be embroidering out, okay? The stem and the leaves, we're just gonna leave those and not stitch them out. But down below here are those two symbols that I was telling you about on that front cover. So do read your manual, or look at it at least, and identify what some of these features or functionalities are within your manual and how to interpret what they're saying. Okay, here's another one up here. Here it shows a little bowl with water in it, and this is showing you how this particular one will do a wash away. So this flower, you're going to stitch it out in a wash away, and you're going to wash away the water soluble stabilizer from the backing on that flower. So that's what that identifies. So, but anyway, today what we're going to deal with is this flower right here and these two symbols, okay, and how that works for you, okay. So I'm going to just go ahead, put this book back underneath here, and we're going to get right into the machine to showcase where this flower is located. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and select the icon to open up our designs. Oop, I think I have to turn my pen on. There we go. Open up, and in here is where your designs are located. So of course you can scroll across, and you can see some of the different headings as well. But the heading that we're going to go to today is going to be flowers and leaves, okay? And then I'm going to scroll to the top so that you can see. See, and this is all your different flowers that you can utilize. Hopefully my fingers, I just use my other hand. Oops, wrong place. Back over here. We're going to go down to design 112, okay, and select that flower. So 112 is right here. You do a long hold and it brings it onto your workspace, okay. Now once it's onto your workspace, we could do various things with it, of course. We could leave it that size, we could resize it, whatever at this point in time. But the very first thing we're going to do, we're going to go into our hoop options because I'm going to identify the hoop size that I'm going to work with. So the hoop size I'm utilizing is the 260 by 200. So I'm going to say OK to it, select it, close out on it. Now, one thing I want you to realize, that the white line that goes around this area is the hoop itself, okay? So Right now, we're going to duplicate this design because we want several of these little flowers. Now, I'm going to show you another project that I worked on, and you can realize why I want more than one or two or three flowers. So I did several flowers here, placed them at different positions on this market bag, okay? And so I want just the flower. So I'm going to duplicate this design several times. And so then I'm going to make sure that I have enough flowers for my project. So this one required several. Maybe I want to do something similar to this. Maybe it's only two flowers or two little centers that's required for my project. So you have to determine how many flowers are required for your project, and once you've determined that, that's how many flowers you're going to apply on your hoop itself. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to long hold, and I get a list of commands. I could duplicate, multiple duplicate, mirror side to side, delete, and you can read all these as well. If you do a long hold, this menu pops up. On this one, I'm going to do multiple duplicate. When I do multiple, then I can identify how many flowers do I want in my hoop. So I'm going to say 6 flowers. So I'm going to say OK to it, and it's duplicated it 6 different times. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to select one at a time. This is my first one. I'm going to move it up to the top center or the top portion of the hoop. Select one at a time again. Here we go. Just move them onto your hoop. I select one at a time. Notice how I'm just moving them onto the hoop. You can do this with your finger as well. I just have a pen that I'm working with today because it doesn't interfere. My fingers won't interfere with you visualizing what I'm working on. Okay. Anytime my hoop turns red, as it did right here, it means a portion of the flower or the design is out of the hoop. So I will need to bring this one back in. Now it's turned white. Okay, and you can move your hoop around, and that's always a good thing because when you're editing or whatever action you might be doing with your flower, sometimes you need to zoom in. Zoom in like this or zoom out, and that's just using your 2 fingers and squishing them closer together, just like you would do with your cell phone, you know, when you're using your phone. Okay, so anyway, but all I'm doing right now is moving the flowers around. Now, one thing I want you to be aware of, okay, I have some flowers that are overlapping. So this flower is overlapping over this section right there, and this one over this section over here. And that's okay, because we are not going to be stitching out that green area of the vine or the leaves. So it's okay that they overlap because all we're embroidering is the yellow flower. Okay. Now I just want to go into my my layers category. This shows you all the various designs that are stitching out. Okay, so and I'm going to move this over so that you can see. It's an easy way to select your design from in the layers as well. So if you have a hard time selecting a design, come into your layers and go ahead and select that particular design that you're working with. And notice how I'm moving that hoop area so that I can visualize which design I have selected. So this one, not in the hoop area, so I can move that around and see the area where that design is located within the hoop itself. Okay. I am pretty much set here, okay. Another thing you could do in your hoops, you could select all and then you can group them all together. That way, if I group them all together, then what happens is they move as one unit. So you can select 1, 2, 3 flowers at a time, group those 3 in your layers, and right here is your grouping icon right there. If you wanted to ungroup them at any time, all you need to do is select the ungroup and they are ungrouped. Okay, so for now though, I want to group them all. Click OK to close that layers feature. Okay, now I'm at a point now where I'm ready to embroider this design out. Okay, so I've got the same hoop, which if you remember, we'll go back into our hoop settings. It's the 260 by 200 hoop. I've hooped it with a heavy stabilizer. This is a cutaway stabilizer that we're using for this, because when you cut away the back side, you need a good stable surface because there's 2 layers of stitching involved with this design, and you'll see that when it embroiders out what I'm referring to there. So I'm going to go ahead. Okay, it's ready. So deselect, go into stitch out, and the stitch out button is right there. I'm going to tap on sort and merge. So all of those 2 categories are selected, sort and merge, and I'm going to make sure I have my embroidery foot on as well. And I want to make sure I also have my single needle plate attached to the machine. Once these are done, I'm going to say OK to it. Then calibrates. So it tells me, it walks me through the whole process. Attach the hoop, and I'm going to go ahead and attach the hoop. And make sure you have bobbin thread in too. This is the standard bobbin thread that we're using for these designs. Okay, so we're going to say OK to it. Okay, now the next thing, we could watch the sewing progress of the design. So right here, for instance, it's showing me that the green vines and stems are going to embroider out first. Well, I told you earlier that those will not be embroidering, okay, for this particular project. So I'm going to come over here to my palette, okay, go to my palette, and I'm going to scroll down. You could just scroll down till you see the first flower, and this would be the first flower right here, and it's going to do all the flowers. That's where my sort and merge came into play. Then it's going to do another color, the top layer of the flower, and then we'll scroll down a little further, and this is the center of that flower. Okay, so we're going to just go back up here to the very first, oops, too far, flower right there, and select it. With it selected, that will be the first one embroidering out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I've determined that I'm going to make my flowers, the first color will be a darker pink, then the lighter pink is on the top, and then the darkest color, which is a deep red, will be in the center. Okay, so that's the order. Of course, you could switch these 2 around as well. So depending upon the color that you want your flower to be, you know, and just realize that the top color is going to be more prominent in its sew out. So you can determine which one you want to be the most prominent. The second color will be just a little bit of a, it'll show through some of your flowers, and it'll just have a little variegated look to it. Okay, so whichever, it doesn't matter which one we use. I'm just going to go ahead and choose this one, okay, because it's unthreaded here from my spool. So go ahead and thread your machine the way you would normally thread the machine. Okay, machine's threaded. Okay. Now what we're going to do is just go ahead, press the start button. Just going to slows up the machine quite a bit so that the machine kind of catches both of that, both ends of that stitch. After this one is done, so it's going to take a while, and over here it does show you as well how many minutes it's going to take. So this particular flower is going to take 2 minutes to embroider out, and of course the whole design with the greenery would take 45 minutes, but we're not going to stitch all that out. We're just going to stitch the flower, so it's significant smaller number than the 47 minutes that you might see on your stitch out progress area. Okay, there we did the last one, and now what it's doing is it's saying to change the color. So we're going to, here we go, say okay to this. If you notice, here's the yellow color, that's the top. Go ahead and start the machine. So this color will give it a little bit more of a variegated appearance on it. So we're going to go ahead and let this run through all of the flower centers. Okay, that's the last for the second layer of the flower. So now we'll thread the machine with that last color. And I just wanted to remind you, the reason that they're all stitching like that is because we did we made that selection in the hoop settings where we did the trim, and we did, not the trim, the sort, and so it sorted all those light colors together, and then it had them all stitch at the same time. So this is a really nice feature. So we're going to go ahead and stitch the last of the colors, which is the center. And this is going to go relatively fast because there's only a minute, and this is not a satin stitch, so it's just a regular old stitch. It's going through there, and the machine goes a little bit faster, so we'll have this done before you know it. Okay, we're on our last flower where it's stitching out the very center. So you can also see here it shows the progress of the stitch, where we're located, and there it's complete. Okay, so we're done with our embroidery, so I'm going to go ahead, take it out of the hoop, cut my thread, okay, and this is what it looks like. Now, I started cutting out some others, that I had stitched earlier, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just flip this over, and this is the same process that you're going to do on yours as well. So when you flip this over, you're going to see the bobbin thread, the white bobbin thread that's poking through right up in here, and all of these 4 that are left here. What you're going to do is cut the bobbin thread, and you're going to use some pointy scissors like this, and it gets deep down in there. You're going to just snip it away. Okay, you're going to go all the way around that area, snip that white bobbin thread, and if you do cut into some of this thread up here, that's okay as well, because and you'll see in a second, because we're going to pull that thread to the front. But you don't want to cut your stabilizer right now. You want to make sure that you get those scissors just on top of the stabilizer. Okay. Let's see how we cut it. And if you miss some, go back and cut them again. Some of those bobbin threads now. That's what your goal is, to cut the bobbin thread. And I think we've got it. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just cut this away, the stabilizer. Just cut around the flower itself, because at this time we don't need the rest of the flowers. So now what you're going to do, you're going to pull it. You're going to get a little sharp tool, and you're going to release that thread from the back side. So you can see right there, that's the thread that I just pulled through to the front. And you're going to do that all the way around. You could do your scissors or use your scissors for pulling this threads to the top as well. Whatever tool you have. Whoop. Okay, just pull it through, and maybe if you didn't clip it all, turn it to the back side and make sure it's all clipped, that bobbin thread. Just be gentle with it. Okay. You can see your layers of the thread there. Just work all the way around it, releasing that top thread from the back. I'm almost done here. And any stray threads that you might have, you can just throw those in the trash after you're done with it. Okay. You're going to have some bobbin thread that's, some of those are going to be trimmed away, some of that thread. Now here's another section. Okay. Some of the bobbin threads are coming up to the top, and that's fine. Just remove those. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to trim. I'm going to pull the top thread away from the stabilizer, because I want to cut really close to the back side of that stitch line that we just had sliced. Cut away. You got a real thickness of thread here, so if you cut some of it away, it's not going to be noticeable, because you got 2 layers of thread. Okay. There, trying to get that top layer isolated. And then you're going to trim away any long threads that might pop up. And you can see, this is your another thread. Trim that one away. Like I said, if you have any more threads like that, you can trim those away. And now what I would do with this, you know, place it wherever you want it placed. So for instance, on this little heart, this is the one I just place it wherever. And what I did is I got like a little fabric glue, and I glued it to the area of choice. Okay. So, but that's how you do it. Very easy. It's just knowing that you got 2 layers of thread when you embroider it out. And that's a satin stitch. And then of course you got your center. And that's your darker colored thread that we use there. Okay. So you're going to repeat that for all of the flowers that you have embroidered out. And then apply them to whatever project you need them applied to. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. There's various projects, of course, that you can apply this to. Like what I did here is I used different colors. On this one I used, actually I used one color on here. I used one color for both layers, and it just made it nice and thick. And I like that too. But I mean, I could have used a darker color on the back side and the lighter on the front side, but I chose to use the yellow for this flower, which I think that looks really pretty as well. But then on this last one we just did for the video here, we did two different shades of pink, and it just kind of gives it, you know, a little bit more of a I don't know, excitement to the flower itself. So, but anyway, I just wanted to thank you for tuning into this video, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate in contacting Larry or Annette at Phil Sewing in Washington, Missouri. And until next time, thank you.